Good morning, everybody. Mark Finan here in the home weather office on this Tuesday morning. It's the 25th day of April, 2023, and this is the morning briefing. And as I look out the window from the home office this morning, it's another pretty morning, not a cloud to be found. Temperatures this morning are in the 50s generally, and most valley spots are going to get into the mid 80s today, a little bit warmer than what we saw yesterday with some north breezes that we'll talk about. I'm also going to talk a little bit about snow melt and give you a different perspective on the Merced River in particular, but it would apply to other rivers as well. It's kind of a perspective that I haven't talked about, haven't shown you, but it's an interesting perspective on how river forecasting is done. But let's first just start with what's happening this morning. It is another pretty morning on the satellite. And as you can see, once again, we do have a good amount of marine layer, basically from the South Bay all the way down through Monterey, Santa Cruz, all the way down through the valleys, thick marine layer down through Southern California. And of course, we have our still abundant snowpack in the Sierra, the valley and the foothills looking very green, which is nice, very nice. And then farther to the north, there's some scattered clouds in the northwest, but even here, we're not seeing much in the way of rain. The west is generally dry right now as a big ridge of high pressure builds in. Now, one of the things we are going to be seeing today is a bit of a north breeze come down the valley. Nothing all that howling, but let's just talk a little bit about the wind that we're going to see. This is a great product that I love to use for wind. It's called CANSAC, CANSAC. So what this is this morning. And as you can see, these areas of dark green, orange, these are the colors you want to look to. These are sustained winds that are up around 20 and maybe 25 from the northwest. And you can see the wind arrows are coming down this way. So that's a snapshot of 8 o'clock this morning. Let's go ahead to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Once again, this is areas like Sutter County, Yuba County, Colusa County, and Yolo County. Let's see the steadiest winds, and these are winds that are, 20 miles an hour, maybe gusting 25 or 30. It's breezy in Sacramento County, a lot less in the foothills, especially south from El Dorado County to the south, and actually in the Sierra, there's a bit of a northeast wind. So it'll be somewhat breezy in some spots today. Let's go ahead to this evening, actually around 8 o'clock. And by then, the wind is still out of the northwest, but it's diminishing. So while some areas will have a bit of a breeze today, it's just not going to be, a howling wind. It's just, kind of maybe just enough to kick up your allergies. But otherwise, we'll just have sunshine with highs in the mid 80s. All right, let's talk a little bit about the snowpack. And for this, I'm going to the Central Sierra Snow Lab, abbreviated right here, CSSL, Central Sierra Snow Lab. And what we're looking at here is the snow water equivalent. So this isn't how deep the snow is. This is how much water is in the snow. Now, if you look at this blue line is the average, the long-term average. And as you can see, it usually peaks here in late March, around April 1st, and then over the next 6 to 8 weeks, it goes down to nothing. So really from its peak in late March, this is March 18th, if you don't take that as the peak, and this is out to May 15th. So it's about 6 to 8 weeks before, on average, it goes down to nothing. Well, the red line is where we are now. It actually goes into their key up here. So the red line is where we are right now. But you can see this is the average about how quickly it goes down, and we are beginning to drop off. We have been up around, we now have a depth of 67.1 inches. It has been as high as in the 70s, but it is on the way down. And with that, we are going to see the water come down the hill. We have about 65 inches of water that needs to come down, as opposed to the average at this time of year, which is, something like 27. So there's a lot of water that needs to come down the hill. And for most areas that are protected by reservoirs, like the American River, the Sacramento River, the Yuba, all of those will be fine. They'll be managed quite nicely. But in areas above the reservoirs, this is one of the things we'll keep an eye on. So this is the Merced River at Pajono Bridge. And Pajono Bridge, for those of you that don't know, is the bridge that as you come into the valley, is the first bridge that you cross. When you're driving into the valley, you have to take a right and you go across a bridge. That's the Pajono Bridge. And actually, if you stop there, you can even see the gauge. It's right there on the side. So what we're looking at here is the blue line is what the river has been doing. Higher highs, higher lows every day as we're getting snow melt. And then this is the forecast coming out here. Now this is what's called a deterministic forecast. And this takes us out to Saturday, going above flood stage at 11 feet by 2 a.m. on Saturday. So like I said, this is called a deterministic forecast. This is actually just kind of saying, let me try to explain a little bit here. So for instance, a deterministic forecast, let's say we say it's going to be 86 degrees today. We don't give you a range. We don't say, well, it might be 82 or it might be 90. We just say, no, it's going to be 86. That's kind of like what we're doing here. With this forecast from the forecast folks says that the river is going to be at 11 feet at 2 a.m. on Saturday morning. That's a deterministic forecast. But of course, what they're looking at is an envelope of possible solutions. And so with that, let's take a look at what's called their ensemble forecast, because this can be very, very telling about what it is that they're looking at. And so with that, let's go ahead and look at this deterministic forecast. And superimposed on this, we also have the deterministic forecast. And this goes through Saturday, which again takes it to 11 feet right here. But some of the possibilities are way up here. This is about 15.8 feet. But there's also the lower range, which takes it to about 10 feet on Saturday. Now, if you go over here, this little box right here is really interesting. So this red line here is flood stage. It says between now and Saturday, it has a 98% chance of hitting flood stage. It has a 75% chance of getting to 11.3 feet. And there's a 5% chance that it could exceed 15.25 feet in the next 5 days. Now, let's take this out the next 10 days, because the next 10 days gets even more interesting. And as you can see, the farther out in time you go, the bigger the spread of the possible solutions. But let's go back to this little box up here in the corner, because this is really, really interesting. Over the next 10 days, there is still a 98% chance of exceeding flood stage. But if you go up here to this line, there's a 75% chance of getting to 13.3. The significance of getting to 13.3 would be that would start to impact areas of the north side road and the south side road, and you may have an impact on maybe even closing the valley. And certainly over the next 10 days, if we started to see it get up to 15 to 17 feet, you'd have a big time issue. The record here is, I think it's 25 feet from the flood of 97. So this isn't going to reach that, but this would be enough to impact the campgrounds in Yosemite, as well as, like I said, we could even get into a closure of Yosemite. And right now it looks as though the peak on that would be next Monday and Tuesday before we get some cooler weather to slow down the snowmelt next week. So again, this is kind of more of a probabilistic forecast. So as I said, it's just there's a chance of this, there's a chance of that, but there's a very good chance that that river will reach flood stage. And that's also valuable information for those of you that are watching the Carson River. Both forks of the Carson River are on the rise, and there are chances that it could be higher than the official forecast that you're hearing, but it also could be lower. So keep in mind that when there is a river forecast that you see, and the ones we put on TV and the ones I show you here, that the deterministic forecast is actually, sometimes it's in the middle of the envelope of what they're looking at. And so it could be higher or it could be lower. And these are the sort of things we'll have to look at more for the Carson River and the Walker River, especially as we get into some of these warmer months coming up. We are going to see steady snowmelt, and over the next 6 to 8 weeks, 8 weeks from now, we won't have much snow in the Sierra. The snowpack will generally be gone. So what we're going to be seeing is the possibility of flooding, as that 60 some odd inches of water has to come down the hill. So that's everything I've got for you this morning. It is going to be a sunny and beautiful day with temperatures in the mid-80s, a little breezy, as I mentioned, and we're still expecting that we could see temperatures over 90 on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I will be on KCRA tonight at 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, and 11. And it being Tuesday, there will also be a Facebook live chat tonight at 8 o'clock. That's everything I've got for you. Make it a great day. I'll talk to you later.